This is your daily market review for Tuesday, March 18th, 2025. Let's go. Hey everyone, this is my channel to help investors and traders develop a probability-based mindset to succeed. Also try and keep friends informed of what's going on in the markets and the economy, and also a little real estate content as well. This is Dan Max at eXp Realty, aka the Trading Agent. This is your daily market review for Tuesday, March 18th, 2025. Hopefully you're doing well. As we talked about going into the FOMC meeting, quad witching OPEX, don't be surprised if you got a pullback. Got the pullback today. I don't know if I'd say bigger than I thought, but again, at this point, not surprised by anything, right? It's a traders. Again, you had the upside with some near sign downside. Again, I still think we will actually be higher from here by the end of the week, probably into the end of the quarter. If you go look at it, it's typically bullish going into the end of, especially with a pullback going into earnings into the beginning of April. So at that notion, I think we're going to go just get crushed? I don't see it right now, but it doesn't mean it can't happen. Again, that's why you have to have a flexible mind. You have to trade probabilities. You have to look at the setups, and you got to do what you think is best. Again, ultimately in trading, it's you versus the market. It's not my opinion and you versus the market. It's ultimately you hit all of the buttons. You make all the decisions. And again, if you follow the channel, I appreciate all the love, support, generous donations, likes, subscribes, comments, whatever, just being involved. And we talk about this stuff. This is the thing, right? Like nobody knows anything for sure. And anyone who's selling you certainty, you should certainly run away from. On that note, if you want to join the Discord room, links description below. Let's get into it. If you want to jump on the Calendly, you want to spend 30 minutes chatting, let me know. Like, subscribe, follow on Twitter, posting trades, ideas, thoughts. Also, but obviously doing a lot more in the Discord room. Also on our website, tradingagent.com, tons of resources. Went over some of the Gush and XOP trade. Some of those folks who traded 20 to 25% gains in 8 days. Not too shabby. Also, if you want to follow, hit the notification bell on YouTube, you'll get alerts. And if you'd like to, thanks, hit the button. Whatever, man. Everything is appreciated. Again, it's one of those things where I appreciate all the love, support. If you're making money, I'm happy. If you want to tip the dealer, that's cool as shit. All right, so we know going into tomorrow, nothing. It's going to be the future talk, and at this point, I think they're going to try to claim, I would say, some sort of victory, like their policies are starting to have effect, and so at this point, I think they're going to be more neutral. Ultimately, I don't really give a shit if they're hawkish or bullish, or hawkish or what is it? Hawkish or, man, my brain is out of control. Yeah, or they're going to be more stringent in the future. Because again, it can all change. I mean, the next meeting isn't till for 2 months, essentially, in May. Then you get some that are like every month. Then you get a 2-month break, and then you get every month, and then a 2-month break. So we'll see what they do. Bitcoin, a lot of folks seem to get really wound up about Bitcoin. And again, I don't really care to have like strong opinions on anything, because again, it's like I don't force the market. But here's the thing about Bitcoin, it's definitely underperformed. So if you feel like you've gotten stuck here because you've chased everyone else's hype and you've been following the channel, what did we say? After big moves, you get consolidation patterns. Well, you had a consolidation pattern forming and then you broke below it. So that's not bullish. Now, not saying you can't go higher in time, but what it's saying is that the pattern is broken, so there's no rush to get in. Again, I'd like to see it somewhere in the low 70s to really retest old ranges. That would make the most sense. Or it needs to get over 92,000. In this point, it's just in between spots. Leave it alone. Oil, we talked about the bounce because of some of the stuff in the geopolitical risk. Oil service names, little overbought near term. Today's oil action, man, it's got to be helping the Feds. We'll see. Ultimately, again, I like this area. If you have oil service names, again, as we talked about in the Discord room, the risk reward was starting to slide in the other direction. And maybe it's only a few days. Who knows? But this is why you manage your trades. You execute, you act. Natural gas has been pulling back some, not surprising, right? Let's get into a dollar near the lows. Again, I'm not really concerned about dollar action when it's tight and choppy, but I'm curious to see how we break out. TLT, this is a very easy trade. We talked about it, buying in this blue zone. And then we even talked about pulling back, and it was like, was it going to be the CPI data or is it going to be the Fed meeting? Well, it's looking like the Fed meeting starts the next move. And here you go. Here's your reference. You buy it at 89.90, set your stop, let it run, see what happens. VIX, We talked about this pulling back quickly and said, not surprisingly, like be watching this 20 area. At some point, I do think we will get into the teens. It's just a matter of when, not if, in my opinion, unless things just shit hits the fan. We'll see. VIVIX, this one has just gotten murdered. But here's the thing. I'd like to see it bottom first with some sort of retest later. And that would be probably the ideal place to start really looking at shorts, in my opinion. But I mean, maybe we missed it. You never know. SPY, this is the thing, right? You come off the lows. Everyone's getting all excited. Like, oh, here we go to the 200-day. I'm not surprised we pulled back some. I wouldn't even be surprised if we had a little more pullback or some sort of trap. So keep an eye on it. Remember, the bearish positions are extreme levels, but also, too, be aware that the put positioning was pretty extreme. So not surprised you got the bounce. QQQ, same kind of thing, right? Like, here we go, pulling back. This is where I was saying, watch the 472 area. I mean, we basically nailed that one this morning. You got it. You got the bounce. Okay. Now, again, we've broken the trend, but is this a trap? This is how I would do it. If I wanted to trick the most amount of people, which the market's really good at, taking the most amount of money from the most amount of people, I'd break the trend. I'd bounce it back over the trend to get liquidity in. And then at some level, I don't know where it'll be, then I would pull the rug out from people. Because again, think about it. You have to trap both sides. That's their game. It's not to just trap one side. It's get everybody's money, not just bulls. Get the bears too. Get both. IWM looking pretty strong here, right? Holding the 8 and 10 day. Not much pullback. DIA, same kind of thing, like down 2 points, 200 something points. Not that bad. Hits the 200 day, backing off. Gold, this is where it kind of, I feel bad for Bitcoin folks. Like, again, I if you know me, you've been following, you know I have physical. And so again, do I need to trade gold? No. Do I trust it going to a Fed meeting? No. But again, I don't really have a strong opinion because I've said this. If you disappeared a year from now, it's going to be higher. I don't know how it's going to trade near term. But we talked about the consolidation pattern. If it broke out, good. Good for the bulls. Breaking out. This gap is rather large. Just keep an eye. Maybe it's a little head and shoulders. This is the hardest thing about gold is some of the seasonality that takes effect into going into the second quarter. If it can ignore second quarter weakness, this thing could run. But again, geopolitical risk are kind of keeping it held up. Silver today, again, didn't really follow through. It's interesting when you see gold up 1% and this stuff down or flat. You filled the gap essentially here and didn't really do much. Again, we'll keep an eye on it. Again, I'm not saying go out and short these names, but if you got profits, just roll up your trailing stops. GDX, not enthused about the candle, but again, not surprised somebody you're taking profits. You go from 38 to 45, solid damn move. GDXJ, same kind of thing, making new highs. Okay, we'll see. Again, is this, we talked about the doji sandwich going higher. Well, now this candle is a little more telling, or sorry, not telling, make me a little more nervous about the near term. Keep an eye on it. That's all. Again, keep an eye on it. We don't, again, it's all about probabilities. AEM, this one broke out. Today's candle, not really that sexy. Worth watching. AG, this thing's been on fire lately. Okay, keep an eye on it, right? Not the candle you want to see, but we've seen this before, right? You're coming off the bottom. This thing could have a huge run in it. Newmont, keep an eye on this one, right? We talked about watching what happens when it held the 50-day. Congrats, and now you're back up at the range highs. See what happens here. Again, I'm not going to say you can't go higher, but I'm pretty sure today's action was profit taking just in front of the FOMC. That's all I'd look at it. But again, you have to be careful because this is the thing about the FOMC meeting, the traps, right? 2 o'clock, they drop the news. 2:30, they start talking. It gets pretty wild. So please be careful out there tomorrow. Taiwan Semi, we talked about this bouncing. Cool. Chopping around. Micron has earnings. Was it tomorrow? Today? Did it have it? I think they're coming up. Yeah, Thursday afternoon. 200-day, watching. AMD, we talked about this name being oversold, even though it's acting like complete poop. You can't short it down here. And so you got the little bounce watching the 20-day. NVIDIA, man, everybody's making new chips. I told you guys. Told everybody, got to be careful because there's no moat keeping people from copying NVIDIA and doing better. Like China is making chips. Microsoft, they're all making great chips. And everyone's trying to Google quantum 7 chips, quantum 1 billion, whatever. And again, not saying NVIDIA can't go a little higher from here, but I've said I think this is the short of 2025. It's priced at like the valuation makes 0 sense. So you got the dead cat bounce. Okay, we'll see what happens here. You can fill the gap. I mean, 20-day seems to be resistance. If you're bullish, you need to get over it. Maybe you can get to the channel highs. Maybe you can get up to the 120s. If you can't, you best be careful. SMCI has earnings after the close tomorrow. This one's just tough. I don't know. Intellectual property. This one's interesting because, again, their CEO is quitting. Probably going to get sold. Again, I don't know if there's much of a premium above these prices. We'll see. AVGO, this one is coming, I would say coming back to the 200-day, but it's bounced on earnings and a whole lot of chop of nothing. SMH, right? Oversold bounce. Don't be surprised if they pull back and then you see what happens, right? Some names have pulled back harder than others. Some names haven't. Remember, like NVIDIA was up while the market was dumping. Could other tech names lead up while the market does what? Up. Some names could go sideways. This is where it gets to become a trader's market. And you have to trust your plan versus your beliefs. It's hard, I know, once you get trades going. Adobe, bouncing here. Applesauce seems to be stuck in the low 210s. Keep an eye on it. Amazon, right? We talked about this one. Look due to bounce. I mean, Mag 7 or certain names don't look so hot. Meta like a high ho. Man, new lows. Keep an eye on it. CRM. Chopping around at the range lows. Got nothing on that one. Google. I'm trying to go fast. I'm adding a lot of new names to the recap. Look at this. Blowout bottom. Long wick. Closes right back. That could be a bear trap near term. So I'd be watching for that. That looks interesting to me. Microsoft, again, making next level chips. Back near the range. Lows, I guess, typically not as bad, but keep an eye on it. NDAQ, again, I don't think they're going to be the future of exchange of the trading, but look at that. Nice little bounce. Not surprised. You hit the 200-day, you bounce. MicroStrategy, as we said, kind of seems stuck between the 200-day and probably at this 320 area. In between, don't know. Leave it alone. Manage your trades. Netflix and spill, Netflix and chill, Netflix and pill. I don't know. Watching the 20-day. We talked about how the 20-day becomes resistance on the start of a bigger pullback. Seems to be the case. Get over it. Maybe it can bounce. Roblox. This one got pounded. Now it's chopping around. PanW. Hoping this one doesn't leave. I like cybersecurity names. I would like to see it lower. Simple. Tesla starting to build some positions. Again, just for the oversold bounce if it happens. Again, tight stops. Why would I not trade the levels? And if it goes lower, I just stop out. Again, this isn't about whether you like Tesla or like Elon, whatever. I don't give a shit. I see volume at the lows. I see price action showing potential support. I'm going to just trade it. And if I'm wrong, it doesn't, no sweat off my back. So started building some positions in TSL today around 7:30. Pretty cool. We'll see what happens here. All right, let's get into some of these just random stocks. I'm changing up the list. Palantir, chopping around. Insight, this one got dropped, chopping around. I think it gets bought out at some point. So if you want to take a stab on this, I'd be watching the 50s, HIMS, HERS, whatever. Again, the stock, 100-day, it feels like it's coming into the trend line. That's what I'd be watching. 30. Baba broke out, chopping around. We'll see. Again, I can't really say much on that one. McDonald's broke out, came back, holding around the 50, 20-day. Keep an eye on it. Starbucks wanted to short this one at the highs, didn't get a chance. It's probably due to bounce, which it is. Airbnb, this thing had popped, flopped, chopped. Keep an eye on it. Coin, this one is back testing the range of lows, but it has broken the primary downtrend. So keep that on your radar. DKNG, man, due to bounce here, but I think it's a piece of turd. Costco, this one just seems to be, resilient, but will it be? 200 days key. I'd be watching that one. Federal Express, right? Like, again, if the market is going to really dump, why is FedEx bouncing? Right? Let's get into, I'm going to do financials, then I'm going to go commodities heavy. So stick around. It's going to be commodity daily market review. XLF, we talked about the oversold bounce. Hood, right? Pulling this one in here, hit the freaking support zone, bouncing. Cool. JP Morgan got long-term puts, took off some. Watching, due to bounce. Again, how much could these bounce? I don't know. I would keep an eye on them. Morgan Stanley, Bank of America, they all look very similar, right? Not super duper concerned about them, but again, watch the 200-day, watch the 20 days, watch what happens when they do bounce. Just don't get lost in the fact that it can bounce and then chop around and bounce a little higher. Like, remember, like, it doesn't have to be like straight line moves. It's not like pong back and forth, ding, 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 ding. No, it can get sloppy and choppy. So just keep an eye on it. Be safe out there. Carry, again, we talked about this one being a turd, oversold near term. I mean, it probably chops around. So just keep an eye on it. XBI, trying to move through this, and then we're getting into commodities. That's my favorite shit. XHB, yeah, XBI, no go nowhere. X Housing, stocks seem to be chopping around the lows. Keep an eye on it. All right, let's go into it. Dow Chemical, some new ones on the name on the list. At the range lows, big volume. Keep an eye on this, right? I haven't really drawn too much. I'm just watching them. Caterpillar, keep an eye on this one, right? Looks like a little head and shoulders bottom. China's throwing liquidity into the market. See what happens here. I'd be watching how we handle these levels. Deere has been on fire. Surprisingly, I guess so, but holding up well. Nucor Steel looks like a buyable spot around here on the 50-day. Again, if the market pulls back, these could get pulled back with it. X seems to be holding up like somebody knows something. Keep an eye on it. IIIL or IIIN. This one's interesting, right? Looks like a Head and Shoulders bottom. Again, in steel industries, it looks interesting. VALE, we've talked about if you bought this in the 8s, you're feeling pretty good. Look at this breaking out. Hell yeah, but watch the 200-day, watch the low 10s, keep an eye on it. Arrow, we talked about. This is another one. Junior Copper, looking strong, holding up really well. FQVLF, if you're not First Quantum Materials, this is a name that looks like it's about to break out. Keep an eye on it, right? Again, leave a comment below if you're loving the commodities. Because again, I think, again, you can play certain tech. I just don't want to play tech that's not beaten up. Like Tesla, to me, makes sense. But some of these other names, I mean, I don't know how much bounce they really have. And again, I don't like tech long term. I'm telling you, money flows. Look at SQQ, Southern Copper. I mean, that's some pretty good areas, but it can keep going. FCX, keep an eye on this one again. Bouncing, watching. Uranium, junior uranium. This looks interesting, right? This thing has been slammed, but look at the volume. Keep an eye on it. CCJ, talking about the 40s, need a hold. Keep an eye on it. Ag names, like they look like they're bottoming out. CF, bottoming. Here's where it gets a little interesting. Mosaic, nice run. Keep an eye on this one. SQM, put this one back on here. Sociedad Química. This one's been on fire, coming off the lows. Some of these names will have a awesome amount of risk reward, so I'd be looking for pullbacks. NTR, we've talked about this one, chopping around. Aaron. Again, I like aluminum long term. Seems to be at some good levels that makes sense, but don't get too crazy on me. Kaiser Aluminum. This one looks real interesting, right? You have you have tradable spots. See what happens. NP, right? Materials Corp, NP Materials. This one's been holding up really well. It's been climbing this whole time. Somebody knows something. You're coming into some what I would consider support resistance zone. So again, if it backs off, maybe it will. Gift time. Last but not least, Cleveland Cliffs. This one looks interesting, right? This thing's been beaten. The volume is exploding down here. I mean, I'd be keeping an eye on this stuff, right? Whatever's going on tariff world, I mean, is it priced in? That's where you have to start asking yourself. Solar, right? Chopping around. Sedge. I mean, these dudes had some bounces. I mean, Dan, you're not even respecting them by showing them. I know. They're just, again, I don't really trust them. Again, I like First Solar here, though. But if oil pulls back and solar didn't really bounce much, I mean, you got to be on red alert mentally. Like, oh, shit. HYG, corporate debt, to me, gets interesting, right? Getting interesting, chopping around. Let's do it. Oil and gas, baby. Let's do it. Oil, again, near term. I don't know. Again, I'm not saying you can't go lower, but I just don't know if there's a ton of upside in oil. Natural gas has been pulling back. Keep an eye on KLD. If you shorted, you should have been taking profits down here. Look for bounces. XOP, I hit my target, so I took my profits. Talked about how this typically has gap ups at highs and pivot points. So maybe it's 2 days. Again, maybe it gets up to 132. Personally, I'm not going to go nuts on that one, right? Keep an eye on it. Again, I like it on pullbacks. Let's go through them all, baby. CVE, I got some other ones for you from front. Friendly ones. CVE, we talked about how this was bottoming. Okay. Keep an eye on it. 20-day. EQT, right? Oh, sorry. FANG. No, what am I doing? All right, Lyondell base, right? Look at these tradable spots. Keep an eye on it, right? Apache, jump on it. Again, big volume at the lows in the oversold position. Keep an eye on it. Devon Energy, right? Same kind of thing. Bottoming out. Looks very interesting, right? CV, oh, yeah. Oh, man, I've got all the names. BP, are you with me? Need to put these in orders. We talked about this bouncing, looking good, y'all. Keep an eye on it. Again, near term, that's my point, is I don't know if you'll get the breakouts, right? Keep an eye on them. They all look okay. I think there are positions where I would take some profits and just see what happens. ExxonMobil, again, we like Exxon, right? But hits the 200-day, probably due to bounce off, back up, right? Keep an eye on it. Don't go nuts. Occidental, like who doesn't like Oxy? Right? Again, I think this one is interesting. Like, I think there's more upside in time, but look at you have all these damn references and you have volume at the lows. Like, you don't need to go be a rocket scientist. Now, if they pull back and get blasted because the market explodes, that's always possible. But man, there's definitely a build of volume. I mean, you'd like to see it build like that. But okay, keep an eye on it. Again, it's not going absolutely bonkers yet, so don't get mentally tied to it. EQT's been holding up really well. We talked about this name, a big choppy zone, right? Keep an eye on this one, like zoom out. Look how Like this is a big consolidation pattern, holding up really well. Last but not least, Flex LNG. Keeping on this one, right? All right, hopefully you appreciate, again, the new format. There will be way more commodity stocks. We'll probably start cutting tech out because, again, not that tech is in here, but all these semiconductors, like Micron probably gets cut, SMCI, Intel, right? CRM, Mag 7, potential. Again, I think the future, again, as we talked about, go check the past. We've said this. When money flows, it's going to go into a different sector at some point. And not that at some point is now, but go look what China's doing. They're looking heavy to invest in commodities, industrials. What do you think Trump is going to do? Again, everybody makes good chips. You need input. So I don't want to rant like I know anything for sure, but I do know cycles change. And when the cycles change, you got to be careful because, again, the Mag 7 tech was more overvalued than the dot-com bubble. That tells you something. Red alert. I don't know if I would say to myself, I need to go back into tech. All right, hope that helps. Again, I appreciate all the love, support, Generation Nation. Leave a comment, heart, like, subscribe, share with a friend. I appreciate you guys. Have a wonderful evening. Hey, thanks for watching. If you have any questions, stop by the Discord room. A link is in the description below. Also, if you'd like to help support more free content, the PayPal link is in the description as well. I appreciate your continued support of the channel.